and we will answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So just be ready and we'll be right back with the presentation. Thank you. Okay, so there we go. Journeys by CAA Niagara. And I'll take my picture out of there so you can concentrate. And we're presenting Quebec's Fairmont Moments, October 15th to the 21st, 2021. And then we'll just head out, and then we'll be using Great Canadian Coaches. Okay, hide subtitle. Okay. And why should we visit Quebec? Quebec is the only French-speaking province of Canada, which, due to its unique history, has a fascinating culture distinct from the rest of the country. Quebec's main draws are the two big cities, both of which sit along the St. Lawrence River. Montreal is the is a far south. Excuse me, about an hour from the U.S. border, located on an island connected to the mainland by bridges. The province's largest and most cosmopolitan city is Montreal, has long been considered one of Canada's leading destinations for those interested in art, music, and fine dining. The next city is Quebec City. It's about 3 hours northeast of Montreal. It is the capital, and it is the most vibrant center of European influence and French culture in modern day North America. And last but not least, we're visiting the city of Mont-Tremblant. It's nestled amid a mountain range known as Laurentians, and that is home to province ski resorts and the largest in Eastern Canada. And then we'll start our tour. And the first stop will be in Montreal. And if you take a look at the left, you'll see the little red dot. That's basically where our hotel is. And the hotel is Fairmont Queen Elizabeth. It is about 25 minutes walking to the old port, and about 5 minutes to shopping, and about 15 minutes to the Chinatown. But we are staying at the Fairmont Queen Elizabeth. And the Fairmont Queen Elizabeth is in the golden days of North American train travel. Railway companies engage in fierce competition to entice passengers, and both on the tracks and beyond. Because the train transportation was so slow and the continent so wide, they had to provide comfortable overnight options. So they erected some seriously luxurious hotels to meet that demand. And the prime Canadian example of this trend is the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. It was completed in Montreal in 1958. This grand hotel was established by the Canadian National Railway. The hotel had 21 floors, has 21 floors, and would go on to host many of the most famous figures of the 20th century: Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, John Travolta, Mikhail Gorbachev, Princess of Grace of Monaco, Charles de Gaulle. I think everyone remembers Charles de Gaulle's visit. Queen Elizabeth II herself visited 4 times. And also the most notable claim to fame, however, occurred in 1969 when John Lennon and Yoko Ono conducted their infamous bed-in room 1742 after being turned away from the US border. And that is where, in this room, that the song Give Peace a Chance was recorded. And when CN was sold to the Canadian Pacific Hotels, it became one of the Fairmont Hotels and Resorts. In June 2016, the hotel was closed for just shy of a year while it underwent an extensive $140 million renovation project. So you're getting brand new hotel. And since with the COVID thing, a lot of places have been shut down, so not used too much. And the Queen Elizabeth new style was inspired by the hotel's history, stylistic evolution, and giving it its own identity. The hotel is very near to everything. It is connected to the underground pedestrian, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. And we'll be staying there for 2 nights. So the next day, we begin our guided tour of the city. Now, one of the places I really want to talk about is St. Joseph Oratory. I love this place. It is so peaceful. You feel the peace in there. But we will not be going in. We'll be just driving by and talking about it, as far as I know. But after the tour, we can always bring you back if you want. And so Saint Joseph Oratory, basically in French known as Oratoire Saint Joseph du Mont Royal, is situated on the slope of Mont Royal. It is Canada's largest church and one of Montreal's most impressive and most visited landmarks. The oratory is a location of the most important pilgrimage in the world. It is dedicated to Saint Joseph, and he's a patron saint of Canada. Every year, more than 2 million visitors walk the steps leading to the oratory and roam the gardens and the Stations of the Cross. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous place, but it's so big. The oratory was founded by Brother Andre in 1904. And it was a construction of a simple chapel on Mont Royal. That's what he wanted. But he was known as a miracle worker for his devotion to the sick and handicapped of Montreal. And Brother Andre had only intended for a small place of spiritual reflection to mark his devotion to St. Joseph, but his reputation kind of spread across the world, and thousands of pilgrims and devotees made their way to Montreal, and the small chapel eventually became a basilica that could accommodate 10,000 visitors by 1967. Thousands of people said that they had been cured because of Brother Andre's strong devotion to St. Joseph. He died in 1937. At that time, 1 million people filed before his coffin. He was beatified by the Pope in 1982, and he was officially declared a saint by Pope Benedict XVI on October 17, 2010. Now, the second picture you look at on the right, those are all candles. That is the Votive Chapel, where there's 10,000 votive candles all lit in front of the statue of St. Joseph. And there's another little chapel that all the crutches that those have been cured are all hung on the walls. Now, I visited the oratory a few years ago. At that point, financially, my husband has lost his job, had been laid off, and there was a lot of things going on. And I just decided I'm going to say a little prayer. And I went in one of the little chapels and just asked for help. And I don't know if this is related to that or not, but that afternoon, my husband called and he had been recalled back to work. So for me, this has a very special meaning. Now, if you take a look at the picture of the oratory, see all the stairs right in the middle, they're in blue. There's 300 steps that lead up to the front of that church. The center staircase is designated for pilgrims who choose to climb up to on their knees, pausing to pray at each step. So if you intend to do that, bring a pillow. And St. Joseph Oratory is the largest church in Canada, and its dome is the second largest in the world. It is recognized as a Canadian National Historic Site. So ladies and gentlemen, this is worth a place to visit, but our tour is only a short tour with a guide, and we have so much to see. So this is one place you can come back to. And then we'll proceed to the Notre Dame Basilica. This one will be going in. And again, this is so unique. I would come back just to see this church also. It is Basilique Notre Dame de Montréal is one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen, and it is one of the most beautiful churches in North America. And it was built in 1829. It's well known for its gorgeous interior, for its ceilings decorated in deep blue with 24-karat gold stars on the ceiling. The church's Gothic revival architecture is also among the most dramatic in the world. The interior is grand, it's colorful, it has deep blue colors decorated with golden stars, while the rest of the sanctuary has blues, azures, reds, purples, silver, and gold. And the stained glass depicts scenes from Montreal's religious history, not the Bible. So they're very proud of their heritage. And famous Canadians have had their funerals here. Prime Minister Elliott Trudeau, hockey legend Maurice Rocket Richard were held here. Celine Dion was buried here. And it is on the site. It is on the site of another church that existed since the founding of Montreal in the 17th century. Like I said, you go in there and it's just you have the feeling of peace when you go in there. Even the rugs, take a look at the colors of the carpets. They're that blue. It's a very exceptional. And when you're looking at the altar, it feels like you're looking at the sky. And then the back of the basilica is a smaller chapel named the Sacred Heart Chapel. And it is bright and sunny with light honey colored carved wood and light streaming through the high windows. And it's nicknamed the Wedding Chapel, and it is so popular that some couples wait up to 2 years to tie the knot because they want to be wed in that chapel. So that is the outside. You're looking on the right hand side, the outside of the chapel and the inside. Okay, and then we go to Chinatown. And Chinatown is about 50-minute walk from your hotel or the hotel we're staying at. It is situated in the Ville-Marie borough. It is one of the oldest Asian communities in North America. And it started to emerge in the 1890s when the Chinese immigrants had worked the mines and railroads in the West moved east. And they opened stores and laundries. They set up shop on La Rue Gauchetière. And throughout the years, Montreal Chinatown has survived redevelopment, expropriation, everything that goes in the neighborhood. It was first recognized as a tourist attraction in the late 1960s following Expo 67. And they even made one of the roads a pedestrian mall. In 1980s, it was followed by the construction of a Chinese Catholic community center, and then followed by the construction of the first all-Chinese hospital in Canada in 1999. Like I said, it's only 15-minute walk from your hotel, and there's tons of restaurants and everything else. And then we head for Mont Royal. Everyone's heard of Mont Royal. The first picture you're seeing on the left-hand side is a view from Mont Royal, overlooking the city of Montreal. And it is known as the mountain. If you talk to anybody in Montreal, it is a mountain. Jacques Cartier christened the mountain in 1535. It's a, it is it is important. Its importance at the heart of the city's identity may explain why locals see Mont Royal as a bona fide mighty mountain, but it's actually 764 feet above sea level. It's more like a large hill, but it is so popular and it's so gorgeous. You see mansions, all kinds of mansions. You have parks in there, and actually one of Frederick Law Olmsted, who designed Central Park in New York, designed a park here too. And there's hiking trails, biking trails, and then you have the cross. There are 3 summits on the Mont Royal: the Colline de la Croix, the hill of the cross, Westmount Summit, and Teotihuacan Otsirakene, renamed in 2017 to reflect the Mohawk heritage, and the peak's use as a First Nations fire beacon. And it has gorgeous views. Now, to pay homage to the Catholic heritage, the first Mont Royal cross was placed on the Colline de la Croix summit in 1643, and it shines bright, 103 feet high. It's illuminated with LED lights, and it's usually white, but sometimes it'll have different colors. Okay, so then we'll go, so Mont Royal, the cross, and you can get some exercise. I put the Montreal Eaton Center in there because it's got 175 stores. Montreal is known for its shopping, for its fashion, for everything that you would want. It's more like European shopping almost. It has Holt Renfrew, Ogilvy, Tiffany, Swarovski, Escada, but it is also linked to the underground pedestrian mall, and it is 5 minutes from your hotel. So hopefully, if anybody, I know a lot of people that go shopping for fashion in Montreal because I've seen so many different colors and different fashions there that I haven't seen in other cities. So 80%, okay, so there we go. Okay, and then we have the old Montreal, and it reflects a little bit like the old Quebec. It's got cobblestone roads, old buildings, and you walk on those sidewalks, you look at these buildings, and you get really the feel of history when you're walking through there. And it's a broad selection, and the old Montreal has a broad selections of attractions and landmarks. It's recognized as one of the most popular districts, even by the locals and visitors. It's very unique. Around every corner and down every narrow alleyway, you'll find something different. It has it even has horse-drawn carriages. Highlights of Old Montreal include Notre Basilica, we just covered, the Old Sulpician Seminary, the Old Port. You can take a stroll along the scenic Old Port. Montreal Science Center, the Point at Calea Museum. It's a museum of archaeology and history built above the remains of Montreal's first settlement, and that was founded in 1992. The Old Port is 2.5 kilometers along the river with 4 piers. So there's lots to see, lots to do. Bring good walking shoes. I have been in the Old Montreal a few times, and there's little boutiques, little restaurants, little cafes. You could just sit back and people watch or just really soak in that history. Okay. There we go. And that is a video of Old Montreal that will just say a little bit more than I've covered.
Montreal is located in the middle of the St. Lawrence River in southwest Quebec. It is Canada's second largest city and has the largest population of French speakers outside of Paris. Montreal is a Canadian city with a French soul, a big heart, and a very hip attitude. A city that enchants visitors with old world charm and an unpretentious love of good food and festivals. The first Europeans to arrive here were from France, and while the British later claimed ownership, an elegant sophistication lingers like a perfume. Order un café, stroll the cobblestone streets of the old city, and soak up the history.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened, but we lost the sound.
Food scene. Visit one of the intimate here and order poutine. The locals love it. Or follow your nose to one of the city's many wood-fired ovens and try a real Montreal bagel. Walk off the delicious food with a stroll around Place Jacques-Cartier, named after the intrepid explorer who claimed Canada for France. When Mark Twain visited Montreal in the 19th century, he nicknamed it the City of 100 Bell Towers. The city's churches are simply magnificent, especially the Christ Church Cathedral, is St. Joseph's Oratory, and the Notre Basilica. But amidst all the history, Montreal is also thoroughly hip. The city hosts more than 100 festivals throughout the year, but even if you happen to be there between events, there is always something cool going on. Head to the Quartier Latin, popular for its artistic atmosphere, cafes and clubs. Or visit Le Village on St. Catherine Street East, which closes to cars in the summer, making it a great place to party. Another great area is Plateau Mont-Royal, where you will discover groovy boutiques, funky cafes, and colorful murals. For art of a different kind, head downtown to the Golden Square Mile and the Montreal Museum of Fine Art. Like Montreal itself, this museum combines the old and the new with great élan. Admire exquisite works from the great masters, as well as an impressive collection of local and international contemporary art. In Montreal, even Mother Nature is chic. Get outside and enjoy the city the way Montrealers do, with a hike up Mount Royal, the 764-foot green jewel that rises from the downtown area and gave the city its name. Or discover the Montreal Biodome, where 5 of the most beautiful ecosystems in America have been recreated in what was once the Olympic Velodrome. For more jewel-like color, visit the Montreal Insectrium, the largest insect museum in North America. Right next door is the Montreal Botanical Garden. Stroll amongst the tranquil ponds in the Japanese Zen Garden. Experience the principles of yin and yang in the Chinese Garden. And of course, you can't leave town without a trip to La Ronde, the city's beloved amusement park. Take a flume ride or brave one of the heart-stopping roller coasters with the names like Le Vampire and the Cobra. As the sun sets on your adventures, head back downtown and discover Montreal after dark. Enjoy cool jazz, smoky blues, or wind down with something a little more quirky. European, Canadian, traditional, cutting edge. Montreal is all of these things, but it is also so much more. With its French past and funky present, Montreal is a city with a certain je ne sais quoi, a flavor and a feeling that is hard to define, but very easy to love.
Okay, those bagels, they are fantastic. And we kind of cut out the sound on the food. We didn't want to give you too much of an appetite right away, but the gardens are fantastic. You're just beautiful, beautiful gardens. It takes a whole day to go through them. There's so much to do. So we'll just go to our next slide, and now will be L'Île d'Orléans. That's it. First, we'll be stopping at Montmorency Falls. That is on our third day. And if you take a look at the picture of the falls, we'll be going over the suspension bridge if you wish, if you're not too afraid of heights. And this is where we meet our step-on guide for L'Île d'Orléans. And L'Île d'Orléans is actually a foster child for Quebec's tourism. It evokes images of days long gone, quaint villages, old stone houses with thatched roofs, rolling fields, orchards, vineyards. Most French Canadians can trace at least one, if not dozens of ancestors who called L'Île d'Orléans home centuries ago. Life certainly has changed, but you can get glimpses of traditional Canadian life still there. It is not surprising, but L'Île d'Orléans has been called the cradle of French America. My ancestors, both on my mother's side and my father's side, are recorded having come to this island. And one came from Poitou, from France, and the other one from Normandy. Now, L'Île d'Orléans is fairly flat, as you can see. It's shaped like an oblong. That's a picture in the middle. It measures 34 kilometers long, 8 kilometers wide at its broadest. And due to its geographic position just downstream from Quebec City and its fertile soil, the island was one of the first areas to be settled in New France. A seigneurie covering the entire island was established in 1636, and it was grand. In its typical seigneurial fashion, plots of lands were laid out in long, narrow strips. And if you take a look at the picture, it's very faint, but you can see those little narrow parts of lands or plots of lands. And when you're driving through the island, you can still see them. And settlers started to arrive in 1650. And you drive through and you see the vineyards and apple orchards and these quaint little houses. They have cabane de sucre on board. We're having lunch on the island, by the way. So hopefully we cross the bridge that is on the second picture down on your left-hand side. And they're building a new bridge for the island, but that is an adventure not to be missed. So, and after the visit to L'Île d'Orléans, we head for Quebec. And Quebec City, port capital of Quebec, One of the oldest cities in Canada, celebrated its 400th anniversary in 2008. It still looks really good. It's kept its shape. Quebec City has a distinct old world character and charm. It is the only remaining walled city in North America, north of Mexico, and recognized a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985. And the city views of the city has three principal districts. And in the first picture on your left-hand side, it says Lower Town, Upper Town. The Upper Town is where the Chateau Frontenac is, and the Lower Town is where all those cobblestone the homes are. Upper Town is the same as the name suggests, is located high above the river on Cape Diamond. The it's a militarily strategic, I can't speak tonight, strategic high ground, sandwiched between the banks of the St. Lawrence and Cape Diamond, is also the old commercial Lower Town. And St. Roch occupies a lowland east of the Lower Town to the St. Charles River. And Quebec City is at the confluence of the St. Lawrence and St. Charles River. So that made it also strategic military advantages. Um, it can, for it, Quebec was the furthest upstream of ocean-going vessels could navigate, and the city's fortification on High Ridge had a commanding view of the river. So it was very, very protected. It became a commercial center and everything else. Now, when we check in, when we get there, the Chateau Frontenac will be our next Fairmont that we're staying at. And if you take a look close at the picture of the chateau, you'll see a little car. And that's basically where we unload with our buses. And right behind the car, there's a little door, and that's where we walk in, and and then we head into the main lobby, and it is just absolutely fascinating. The chateau stands on St. Louis Forts and Chateau's archaeological site, which was over 200 and for 200 years the official residence and seat of the French and British governors. And if you take a look at the back of the hotel is Place Dauphine. And many famous people have made Chateau Frontenac their residence during their time in Quebec City. Of course, Queen Elizabeth II, Celine Dion, the Princess Grace of Monaco, Leonardo DiCaprio, Paul McCartney, Charlie Chaplin. They know where to stay. In 1953, the Chateau Frontenac was used for the filming of the Alfred Hitchcock film I Confess, starring Montgomery Clift and Anne Baxter. And the Chateau Frontenac manager at that time was George Jessup, and he played himself in the film. So something very local, something unique. The first Quebec conference was held at the Chateau Frontenac, 1943. The British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt were hosted by Canadian Prime Minister Mackenzie King as they agreed on plans for the upcoming Allied invasion of occupied Europe. The Chateau Frontenac is said to be the most photographed hotel. You see this picture, you know exactly where you are, you know exactly what it is. If you were to jog, if you're very entrepreneurial and you like jogging, if you were to jog in the hotel, you'd find a total of 12 kilometers of hallways. There was close to 2,000 windows with spectacular views of the St. Lawrence River, the city, and the interior gardens. And the executive chef collects some 650 liters of honey every year from 4 hives on the chateau's private rooftop garden. A little bit of trivia, and there's restaurants inside, there's gift shops, there's everything. And if you come in, and if you come on by the back doors on Dufferin Place, you'll see the next picture. We'll see the stairs, the breakneck stairs. The middle picture right here that you're looking at. Take a look at the middle. Don't look at the sides yet. But the middle stairs, they're called now the breakneck stairs. The outdoor staircase is the oldest of Quebec City, dates back to the beginning of the French colony. The 59 steps of the breakneck stairs connecting Côte de la Montagne to Rue du Petit Champlain was just one of the ways to move between upper and lower town. And the way this happened in 1620, Samuel de Champlain, the founder of Quebec City, decided to build his home at the top of Cape Diamond. He then drew a road, Côte de la Montagne, which still follows the same route today. A path was then created to bypass the steep incline, and French colonial authorities then had stairs and landings built, and the structure was called the Champlain Stairs or Beggar Stairs. And it was in 1960 the wooden staircase were replaced, and it was that time, for some reason, it became known as the breakneck staircase, escalier casse-cou in French. It was a term coined by British tour guides. Now, as far as anybody knows, there was no serious injuries have been reported on these stairs, despite their name. And if you take a look at the picture, you'll see landings, and there's restaurants at each of these landings. So for the ones that don't want to do, I've done the stairs, but if the ones that don't want to do the stairs, we have the funicular, and it's right behind the Chateau Frontenac. It is a different place, and it was the first funicular went into operation in 1879. And the cabins scaled up and down the escarpment by means of counterweight, water process, and steam power. In 1918, they revamped the whole funicular with modern technology. And in 2004, the funicular was 125 years of service. And it's not just a ride, it's history. As you're riding up and down that funicular, you're looking at the old town, you're looking at the upper, you see those old houses, the stone houses. The main entrance of the funicular is located in the historic house Louis Joliette on the Petit Champlain Street in the Old Quebec. And the house was built in 1683 by architect Louis Joliette. He lived here until his death. And Louis Joliette was born in Quebec City in 1645. In 1666, he devoted his time to fur trading. More importantly, during one of his expeditions, he discovered the Mississippi River with Father Jacques Marquette. Joliette was also cartographer and hydrographer. He was the first Quebec-born Canadian to make history. So there you go. There's the map of the old Quebec, Le Vieux Quebec, Old Quebec, and all the tiny little roads. And Chateau Frontenac, I don't know if you can see, it's beside one of the black P's. It says P with black square. Chateau Frontenac is there. And if you go left and you go up one street, there's a little grocery store right on the side street, and it sells wine, it sells cheese, it sells beer, anything you need. You don't have to go to the expensive restaurants if you don't want to, or eat out of the restaurant. You can create your own sandwiches. Or if you want to eat out, there's tons of restaurants, little boutiques, little cafes all through the whole place. And then you got the lower town. So we have many cute streets in Old Quebec. So we'll start at the next slide. So we'll move to and the first one is Rue du Cul-de-Sac, and that is actually a very, it has delightful surprises for passerbys with rounded buildings and decorations strung above you, like those little umbrellas. And then we have La Rue du Petit Champlain, the middle one, and you don't see it on this picture, but if you go all the way up, it's at the foot of the cliff just below Chateau Frontenac. It's very narrow. It's a cobblestone street with colorful signs and quaint shops, lots of shopping in there. Just the shops are you have to be careful. They're older buildings. Be careful of the steps going in. And even inside, the floor's not even. So there's gorgeous little gift shops and everything and little restaurants, but you have to be careful when you're going into these places. And then you have La Rue sous le Cap, the top right picture, the tiny little picture there. And it's along the Cape Diamond Cliff. It dates back to the time of New France. And the walkway running between buildings makes this street totally unique. So it's very authentic. And then you have the middle picture, the Côte du Colonel d'Ambourges. And this is a walled street. It connects Old Port to the Côte de la Connerie, which runs from the lower town to the upper town. And it looks like it's actually a nice little walk. And of course, we have La Rue sous le Fort, the road below the fort. And you can see the funicular right in the background. And if you walk straight through there, the stone houses on the street are utterly romantic. And it's an incredible low view of the Chateau Frontenac. So they're all unique. They're all gorgeous. They all have the next slide will have more streets, but they all look alike, and yet they're all different. And this one is Rue De Grandpa. This is on top. Like the previous slide was lower Quebec. This is upper Quebec. And this one, the first picture on the left is historic homes on one side and the walls of the fortified old city on the other side. And it's perfect for a peaceful stroll. There's benches along the way. And you can look at the lower town toward the St. Lawrence River and the Laurentian Mountains. Right next to it is Rue Saint Louis. And Rue Saint Louis runs right near the Chateau Frontenac. And it's got you walk along the St. Louis Gate to Chateau Frontenac. You'll see picturesque buildings, restaurants, flower boxes. The first time I saw this street, we went for dinner on L'Île d'Orléans, and we came back, and it was in October, and they were having a Halloween or the zombie walk. It was incredible. It was full. People had costumes and masks and everything else. It was really fun. Everybody was really friendly. And the next street, the Rue d'Anocona, is basically a small little, it says, if you like Hobbit homes, head for Donnacona 6th Street, or number 6. It is 3.7 meters. The facade is the smallest in North America. And then you'll stroll toward the covered entrance to the Ursuline School, École des Ursulines. Then you turn off on the Rue du Parloir, and you'll find a lovely row houses with red doors. So they all have their own little themes. And the bottom pictures, you have Rue Couillard, and it was first occupied by tradespeople. Artists moved in, followed by intellectuals who taught at Université Laval in the mid-17th century. So they have different variety of styles, lines, shapes, and colors. And they have apparently a really nice little cafe called Chez Temporel. And then La Rue du Trésor, it's like you're going through, I've walked through there a few times. It's a little alley. It looks like an art gallery. You have, they even draw your picture right there if you want. There's little artifacts, there's little gift shops, and you're walking through all this. It is amazing. And then right at the end is a Subway shop, but you'll enjoy it. And then you have Rue Sainte-Anne. It's a cobblestone pedestrian street, and it's got patios on one side, the Holy Trinity Anglican Church on the other side. And the restaurants there, is very big. That one, I like that one. And you can, but a lot of these restaurants, they recommend that you make reservations. Right now, they're closed. They're still closed. They're supposed to start reopening real soon. But when we do arrive, if you do come in Quebec City, it's highly recommended that you choose a restaurant you want to see or eat at, and it's really good to make a reservation. There's loads of them around. So that is our visit to Quebec City, and then a little video again just to inspire you a little bit more on it. I hope you enjoy. I love Quebec City. I just absolutely enjoy it, and I feel like I'm coming home. I don't know how to explain it. It's got that history. You're walking down, you close your eyes, you listen to the sounds, and you look at the facade, you have a coffee along, and the flowers, the taste, the smells, and there we go.
Being so close to the Arctic, it has long, cold winters and is a famous winter sports destination. But during the warmer months, the city bursts into action. Quebec City combines the couleur locale of Europe with the familiarity of North America. Its charming cobblestone streets with Parisian-style flair show a love for haute couture and the fine cuisine. While discovering Quebec's highlights, you'll be zigzagging between the walled upper town and the lower town. So jump on the funicular or take the l'escalier casse-cou, the breakneck stairs, which is less scary than it sounds. The Québécois will always remember their history and are fiercely proud of their French roots, just like it says in their motto. French is the official language. Croissants are still on the menu, and statues of French heroes dot the squares. The heritage-listed city center even has its own mini version of the Notre Dame. The Basilica stands at the site where it all began, Place Royale. Samuel de Champlain founded Quebec here in 1608. Step into the past and come face to face with some of Quebec's leading artists on your way to the oldest retail district in North America. It's as if these sugar shacks, food stalls, and horse-drawn carriages have always been there. Find another fresco just under the breakneck stairs. This one depicts the history of the waterfront neighborhood, Cap Blanc. These days, the old port is a great place to explore on a bicycle. Drop in at the popular Musée de la Civilisation and take a journey through the history of Quebec, from the First Nations to the modern culture. Continue your time travels and stroll past the fortifications and cannons on the panoramic Dauphren Terrace. You can't miss Chateau Frontenac, which towers over the broad St. Lawrence River. The river plays a major part in Quebec's story. It brought the first settlers, international trade, and the soldiers who fought over the Canadian territory. The Plains of Abraham in Battlefields Park is where Quebec was captured by the British in 1759, in the lead-up to the end of the French rule in Canada. Nowadays, it's a peaceful city park where you can explore old defense towers, fly a kite, and admire modern art. Pose in front of the Fontaine de Tourny and look up at the Parliament building, home to Quebec's National Assembly. Step through the gates of the nearby British fortress, La Citadelle, to watch the traditional changing of the guard ceremony in summer. Shop in North America's oldest grocery store to stock up on provisions, and head out of the Old Town to experience some of Quebec's family attractions. To the south, the Aquarium introduces visitors to the marine mammals that inhabit the ice-cold waters of the Arctic. Kids can line up to get a kiss, and they may get an unexpected round of applause. To the north are the Montmorency Falls. Glide past, stand suspended in mid-air, or climb up to the observation platform to witness the spectacle up close. Afterwards, cross the river to Ile d'Orléans to watch the sun set over the mountains. Quebec City transforms at dusk, the perfect time to explore Rue Saint-Paul's delightful sidewalk restaurants, and your night on the Champs-Élysées of Quebec, the Grande Allée. A Canadian city with a 400-year-old history and a French elegance. Quebec is truly unique. A destination to always remember. Je me souviens.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. It's there's so much more. There's just so much we can cover in the presentation. But we do have 2 nights, and the tour is in the morning, and you have the full afternoon to yourselves and the evenings to yourself. So the next trip we head from Mont-Tremblant, and it's a Fairmont Mont-Tremblant again. And if you take a look at the picture, that is a heated pool on behind the Mont-Tremblant. And that's the first picture on the left. The middle picture is basically one of the foyers, one by a fireplace. Another picture with the autumn colors. And you can actually climb behind the hotel. There's actually a path that you can climb up the mountain. So the Mont Tremblant, and Mont Tremblant is within the Laurentian Mountains, northwest of Montreal. It's a year-round ski resort on the shores of Lake Tremblant. It has winter sports, golf courses. It's getting really well known for its golf courses, pedestrian shopping village. and it has a national park. It's also close to a casino, but the casino is not there. It's the highest peak of the Laurentians regions. Mont Tremblant receives over 2 million visitors annually. 96 trails are available to ski, snowboard during the winter season, and the longest one is 6 kilometers long. So that is Mont Tremblant. And the next, and there you'll see, this is a pedestrian village, Mont Tremblant. Take a look, it's very steep. So what we do in our tour, we start the tour above, um, and then we walk down, and the bus meets us down there during the tour, and it takes us back to the hotel, whoever wants to come back. And if you come out of the back of the hotel, the top picture on the left-hand side, you'll see a little doorway in the wall. If you go through there, you come out with this picture on the lower one, and on the right-hand side, there's LCBO. There's different little shops right there. It doesn't show everything. We usually go around in the fall, and we're usually close to, not too close, but we're halfway to Halloween and Thanksgiving. And you'll see they decorate everything around there during the Thanksgiving. There's quite a few restaurants still open at that time. Fairmont Hotels is gorgeous. They've gone through a renovation also. So it's peaceful. It's actually the perfect spot for the end of a busy trip. If you've been busy in Quebec City or Montreal, this place you can relax in a heated pool with a glass of wine, or sit by the fireplace, or just take a leisurely stroll. It is really a nice ending to the whole trip. Okay, and the video is next, and it'll show you more of the winter sports, but it will show you some of the summer sports too, because it's known as a winter resort. Okay. Take me to the top. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. The cable car is not always the cabriolet they call. It's not always in use when we go. It depends when we hit it. They start switching over for winter. And believe me, if you decide to bicycle around that area, there's a lot of hills. But we do have a step-on guide that gives us a tour. We visit if we can. We always try to get into this very historic little church that's there. And the priest that used to be there was an enthusiast skier also. So he's been known to wear his snow boots underneath his cassock so that he could go as soon as the mass was finished or the church service, he would go and ski. So it's a very popular area. Okay, so this is almost the end. We do also recommend that you have some kind of travel insurance when you travel, even if it's interprovincial. It's just to protect you. And if you're a CAA member, you also get a 10% on your travel insurance premium. And our travel consultants or travel agents would be happy to help you with this. And the next one is we have all kinds of insurance, emergency medical plans, trip cancellation and interruption plans. And they do come, we do kind of bundle some of these plans also, but it's also for your protection. And it's, I've had people that have twisted ankles. I have people that have broken a leg or an arm, or it's not like it doesn't happen often, but if it does, you're protected. And believe me, our trips are not that dangerous. They're a lot of fun. And so if you want to, if you're interested in it, our travel agents, if you answer your questions, you can call any of our experienced travel consultant at 1-800-263-7272, and they'd be really delighted to help you. So ladies and gentlemen, this is almost the end of, I was going to say the tour, but the end of the presentation. So thank you. Merci beaucoup. I hope to see you soon with Journeys by CAA Niagara. You can reach us at journeys@caaniagara.ca. And our phone number is 905-322-2712. You can reach one of our travel agents also if you're interested. And if you have any questions. Any questions, Afia? Okay, Marilyn. Okay. Yes, Marilyn?
How long do you stay at Mont Tremblant?
They're all 2 nights.
So it's like 6 nights?
Yeah, it's I would love to stay longer, but they are also Fairmonts. So they're very exclusive. They're very beautiful, but it's also I'm thinking of maybe eventually doing more selective cities and staying longer, but right now we're doing 2 nights each.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Marilyn?
I could just ask approximately what is the cost?
Okay, so for Marilyn, are you going to travel single?
Yes.
Okay. Are you sitting down? So
Yeah.
it's for single, that includes the hotels and accommodations. Oh, by the way, there's buffet breakfast every day. There's 1 lunch and 2 dinners, guided tours in 3 cities, visit to Montmorency Falls and everything. It's $3,989. That includes the taxes, the motor coach, everything else. It is a spectacular tour. And it's the first time we're doing Montreal with this tour.
Mhm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
And double would be 2,729. Okay. Any other questions? It is in October, so we're hoping by then that everyone will be a little bit more comfortable traveling, that things will reopen. But we're taking basically about 20 passengers. We're going to do social distancing on our coaches. Wearing the mask will be a requirement at the moment, and hopefully that everybody will be vaccinated or receive something, but it's just for your protection and the protection of the people that were around. And the coach will be sanitized every time. There will be hand sanitizers on the coach and everything else. So we're taking all kinds of precautions. All the hotels, the only thing with the hotels at the moment, what they're doing, you get room service, cleaning, changing your beds only like when you come in, and then they come into your room when you leave. So if you want towels and everything, we ask them and they bring us the towels, but they are not coming in the rooms at the moment. Okay. We live in very different times at the moment. So it'd be nice to get back on the road. So if that's it, I want to thank you again. Thank you so much for coming, for attending the presentation. And you brought back some memories for me for that tour. A lot of things that, a lot of stories were popping up in my head, but it's all been good. It's all been positive. It's just a beautiful province to visit. So hopefully we'll hear from you. Have a great night. And and we'll see you